Okay, so I have my Tudor Black Bay 36, and one of the things that I'm not really fond of is the super high level of polish on the bezel. You have polishing on the sides, which make it stand out, as well as the little angles right here, which I think is great. But just the actual bezel itself, um, it's a little too polished for me. So I have the crystal taped off because what I want to do is um, create a brushed looking surface on this bezel. And, some people would say, oh, well, you're ruining the watch. It's not supposed to look like that. But at the end of the day, this is like if you want to do something to your watch, it's your watch. So if you enjoy it and it increases your enjoyment of the watch, then I say do it. It's like when people started doing PVD versions of Rolex and uh, Speedmasters. People were saying, you can't do that. It's heresy. And then eventually Omega even released their own versions of watches like that. So I'm of the mindset that if you enjoy it, and it makes something better to you, then you should do it. So I have the crystal taped off, and then what I'm gonna do is remove the bracelet so I can tape off the sides as well. So now I have just the watch head, and again you can tell the polishing on the sides, the polishing on the bezel, um, and just the polishing on the bezel just dresses it up nice, but I want it to be more like a tool watch. So that's why I want a brushed look on this watch. So everything's taped off with just blue painter's tape, and the only thing that's visible is the bezel, the inside of the case as well, but it's already brushed, so it doesn't that doesn't matter too much. I'll put a little bit there to maintain the polish on the edging. And then once the last bit of tape is in there, then I'll go ahead and start brushing out the bezel. Okay, so everything is completely taped off, and I will now start brushing it. You want to make sure you go in one direction so that the lines are even. And I'm just using a Scotch guard or a Scotch pad to start, and then we'll finish off with like finer sandpaper. But I'm gonna go ahead and pause it because I don't want to do that like looking at the camera like this because I don't want to mess it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that in the garage, and then we'll be back to show the result. Checking in, about halfway done. You can already tell that the super bright mirror polish is dulled out a little bit, not as shiny. So just going to keep working on it until it gets to the level of brushed that I'm looking for. All right, and here is the end result. You can see that the bezel is brushed compared to the sides. This was the initial mirror polish that was also on the bezel, but the bezel itself is brushed, and then you can still see at the angle the polished sides. Um, I just think it looks a lot better with a slightly brushed bezel, which is why I went ahead and did that modification. Again, if I want that polished look back, I can get Cape Cod cloth, or when I send it in for servicing, they'll go ahead and polish that bezel. But I think just having the brushed bezel adds a more of a tool watch look to it. So let's see what it looks like now on the bracelet. So here it is on the bracelet. I just think, again, just that brush really tones down like the dressiness of the watch a little bit, especially on the bracelet, because again, you can see that mirror polishing all over or on the sides and at different angles. But from the front, it um, has more of a utilitarian look with this brush bezel. So um, again, not not the norm, but I think it looks significantly better. And if you're interested in doing it, I'll link down below on the tools that I use to get this done.